what this organization is and what your goals are.
Okay. So Do Chat is a men's group. It's, you could say, founded on an idea of social therapeutics, which involves open conversation. It's less about advice giving, unless advice is asked for. It's more about forming relationships, talking about emotions, and just working through things together. So we like to say better self, better world, better together. And essentially that's what Do Chat is.
And where did the idea come from?
So the idea came from, well, the idea actually was loosely inspired from watching a show called Ted Lasso. And if you've ever watched it, there is a lot of examples of male bonding, male relationships, and men being vulnerable and open. And you watch all these characters, including women, but you watch them as they grow throughout the show. And when I was kind of like isolated during COVID, and that's when that show was being active, I just had this idea of bringing guys together. And you see it in the show, and there's some really touching moments. And I was like, why aren't we doing more of that as men? Why aren't we doing more of that? So I got in touch with my buddy Sanchez, and I said, what do you think about this? And he's like, I'm all about it. So slowly and gradually, we just started hosting in-person meetings at the library, and that's where we're at now.
And how has it grown?
So it's grown because we have expanded our chats in person, and I think we've got around 50 to 60 subscribed members. So people who have gone to the website, dochat.com, thedochat.com, filled out profiles, and they're coming in person every other week, and then we also are doing virtual every other week. So we've got guys showing up from Colorado, Texas, Ohio, all different types of states, and it's just been really cool to see the relationships forming and blossoming the way they are, and individuals such as ourselves that continuously are coming, just the impacts it's made in our lives and the lives of others.
So we didn't have a blueprint for this at all. This was just an idea that, we plucked out of the air. Brock plucked out of the air and asked me to be along with it. So there was no blueprint. We didn't really know how to do it. We just knew that the doors needed to be open and that men needed a safe place to talk. I come in, like when I leave here and I go home, wife doesn't ask, what y'all talk about. She says, how was it? It was good. Y'all have a lot of members show up. We had about 6 to 10. That's the end of the conversation. But then, 2 days later, I get a call from one of the guys in the group. Man, that meeting meant so much to me. Thank you for inviting me. And it was literally just a simple conversation for us to say, it's okay to open up. What makes us different than other men groups that are out there? We're not political. We're not religious. We cover all aspects of people, of men. We have men that are millionaires. We have men that are barely making ends meet. We have men that are they're starting their journey at 19 and 20, and we have men that are in their 60s. And we have men from all different race backgrounds. And we always find common bonds in between us that connect us as human beings, as men, as we are right now in these times. And I've brought family members in to the group. I've brought coworkers in. I've brought strangers in to this group, and they've all found a way to connect each other randomly through just little conversations. Because either you're about to go into it, you're in it, or you're coming out of it. So there's always somebody around your level that you can relate to. And a lot of times we have these simple conversations that, somebody else might hear and be like, what are y'all talking about? But then you also realize in that simple conversation is a bigger conversation that they're having and nobody really pays attention to. We had a couple guys come in the other night, did not know each other. Come to find out they're veterans. And that was a whole different bond that me and Brock didn't share. But to them, that was a big bond to them. And now they've got each other's numbers and they're talking. We have a few guys that were sports stars. I didn't play college sports. He did. That was a whole different realm. But it was somebody that you may have seen on the street and walk by and then think about it. You come in this room and then all of a sudden you have a bond with somebody else. So that also gives you an aspect that you're not alone. Because what we're trying to do is make sure, when a man comes to this door, he knows he's not alone when he leaves. Because if a man is alone, then his thoughts get to going. And it, never really works out well that way.
How has this been important to you? I mean, how has this been an important organization for you and seeing how it's grown and all?
So for me, I've seen it grow, and I've seen the growth of the men in the group. I've had conversations with a few of the men's wives on the side, saying that they're loving how their husbands have changed for the good. I've had personal conversation with the guys in the group and saying how their bonds with their children have become better, how their bonds with their wives, their families have become better. They're less, how do I say this? They think before they act. So their anger is not as quick as it used to be, which is, I think, as a man, that's a growth. And how they speak well into their children's futures. That's a big thing for me. And just the way they open up and become vulnerable to each other. Because as men, we're not really that vulnerable to each other. And you come in this room or you get on the virtual and you hear guys with the same stories, just at different times, and you can relate. So it makes you feel not alone.
How has this been valuable for you personally?
For me personally, right when we first started, I had really bad anxiety. Not really knowing what it was from or what was causing it. But coming into this group, it showed me that everybody has a touch of it. It made me start to really reflect on myself and, taking myself accountable or making myself more accountable than anything else. And feeling that I'm not alone personally. And, going from starting the group to actually going to see a therapist and sticking with the group and building these bonds with these men has really made a huge difference in my life. We have a thing called an 8-minute phone call. And I don't know how many times I've got that 8-minute phone call, or if I'll send a text, say, hey, man, you got 8 minutes. And you kind of talk to each other and say, it's not as bad as we thought it was. And just that short of 8 minutes is, it's done a world of wonder in my life. And I'm very thankful for this group. I'm very thankful to be a part of this group. So it's really made a big impact on me.
It's been important to you personally, right?
I'm glad you asked that question. So that, spinning on that, there's a book by a guy named Dr. James Hollis, and he wrote this book called Under Saturn's Moon. I think it was written back in the 90s. And he speaks about how it's important to be in a group environment while you go through this journey through life, but it's also very important to put the work in for yourself. So being in this group has impacted me in ways that I haven't been able to get the same type of impact doing it on my own. Being able to bring in things that are happening in my own life, listening to stories that are happening in other men's lives. A great example, I come into group and I say, guys, I'm just depressed. And depression for me is different than what depression is for you and what depression is for this man. So depression for me might be, I haven't made any sales this week. And depression for this man might be, my wife isn't talking to me, my kids are unhappy, and being home right now is just tough. And so instead of just saying what these things are, we work through it together. And it's like, okay, well, that looks different for you, and this looks different for me. And then when you start to relate to those things and you realize we're all just men, we're all just humans going through this experience of life together, and we're all experiencing it in different ways. We all come from different backgrounds, all these aspects of life that just make the struggle or make the beautiful struggle, as I like to call it, just all different types of experiences. So for me, when I'm in here and I get to go through that with everybody, it brings out a lot for me. It just makes me more aware, and it makes me feel better about, what I'm doing and what we're doing here for sure.
Do you get the sense from the group that comes in that most men have some feeling of isolation? Men feel isolated?
I definitely do. I think that's a big thing. So, recently I got a certification in social therapeutics through my teacher. Her name's Carrie Sackett, and she's known as America's loneliness coach. And that's kind of part of the reason why I sought her out, was for this work and how it could benefit me and how I could bring this to benefit the experience of Dude Chat. And loneliness, I would say, is a crisis. I think a lot of people are having interactions mostly on their devices. And I even saw something recently that said like 70% of teenagers say they prefer to have communication on devices, and they feel like they are having the same type of communication that we had growing up, running around your neighborhood and whatnot. So I feel like, especially, I'm not originally from this area. I moved here in 2010. And as a man, it's not like the easiest thing to just, go out on the playground and make friends. You might come in contact with some people at work, but a lot of work is virtual now. So I just feel like this experience, and getting past just the general conversation of, oh, we might like the same sports team, which all that stuff is important too. Any type of male bonding is important. But I just feel like what we bring on here, it really combats loneliness. It really forms genuine relationships. And I've seen it more times than not where individuals are showing up for each other. They're passing off personal information. Hey, call me if times get rough. Hey, I really like what you're doing right now. That's a great win to hear tonight. Let's go out and meet for dinner and talk about that some more. And then we've got a forum on the website, which also gives guys an opportunity to engage even more. So next for Dude Chat, we're going to continue to expand what we're doing in the virtual realm. We do want to get more involved with community service projects, but that's going to take participation from all the individuals involved. We've got a book study coming up by an author. His name's Sahil Bloom, and we've got 10 copies of that. And then the library is also going to pick up some digital and audio, and I believe some physical copies. We're going to do the book study, and then we're going to end with a 30-minute Q&A with Sahil. He's going to join us, so that's going to be really cool. And then we're doing featured people every month. So we've got a individual who specializes in wealth management, money management, and he's going to give some good advice about investing for men and college funds and other things in ways that could help guys out and things that they might not be aware of. And then just other guests that we have coming on. A good place to be informed on that is at the Dude Chat for Instagram and Facebook, and then thedudechat.com for anybody who wants to keep informed. And if you subscribe, you'll get the newsletter, and we've just got a lot of really cool things coming up. So as we are building with the virtual, it is spreading to other communities. It would be cool at some point to replicate the in-person, but we're really just focusing on what we can right now. I'm not sure of any groups that are doing kind of what the Dude Chat is doing. But, we just want our growth to be natural, organic, and, we're not trying to win a race here. We're just trying to be as impactful as we can. And I believe that that's coming in and being genuine. We lead with love, and, if guys want to be here, that's the big step, because, we aren't asking for any money to be involved in this. This is all participation, person wanting to do it on their own time. I say the most valuable thing you have is your time. So showing that you want to be here is a huge step. And it says a lot about the individuals that are coming. It also says that they want to be here for somebody else. And I think that's even more important, because a lot of men need other men in their life. And I had a conversation recently with an individual that's been very influential in the nonprofit and community here in Anderson. and they were just saying, you know, we're doing all this excellent work. There's all these organizations, but what it comes down to it, we need more people mentoring families and individuals so that they can learn these skills and then implement those skills throughout the community. And that's ultimately how we build together. So I feel like we're genuinely trying to do that. And I believe that it is happening in this space. And every week is different. And it's just so cool to see all the things that are happening. Yeah, so if somebody's coming to Do Chat for the first time and they're not sure what to expect, you're gonna experience just an open invite. You know, I can think about like the first time we had one, and coming in the first time for myself, it is a little awkward, but you soon realize that you're surrounded with friends. You're surrounded by men who are here for a reason. They want to improve. They want to see others improve. You know, you're not going to get like bombarded with advice unless you ask the group for advice. If you're saying, hey, you know, I've got this situation going on, you know, could you guys help me out with this? Like, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Then you're going to get people telling you, you know, this is what I would do. But it's not something where you come in and you say, hey, you know, this is going on with my wife. And all of a sudden somebody's like, man, do not let that happen, or do not put up with that. You know, that's just not what we do here. So expect to not be expected to share. You could come in and just listen. You could come in and just be. You could come give advice for others who ask for it. And just feel it out. See where it takes you, because there's just so many different individuals that bring so many different backgrounds, and it's a special place, and we're all growing together, and we're all here for a reason. So if you're hesitant, you can definitely reach out to us on social media. We'll have a conversation with you there before you even come in. But I would definitely encourage you to come if you're thinking about it, because you'd be amazed at the transformation that might take place in you or in somebody else just by sharing what's going on.